Hello, hello. Welcome once again to Inside Out Alignment, your platform for self discovery and creativity. Your host, Mary Tapper. And today I have the pleasure to introduce our guest today, Jen Duchene, who is an Akashic mentor, a soul guide, a teacher, and author, creator of the Illuminating Journey cards. Jen is also known by many who have had the honor of working with her as the global guardian of the Akashic records. She can assist you in navigating anything that life presents you by powerfully weaving a sacred cocoon around you and immersing you in the divine wisdom of the universe. Her unparalleled level of mastery has unfolded over 15 years and bring her here to you, to now, and to what is about to be birthed in your reality. If your soul knows that it's time for you to move beyond the myths that have held you back and created the life experience you desire most deeply, you have found a guide who will breathe magic, grace, and sovereignty into every step of your journey. Beautiful. Thanks, Jane, for accepting this invitation and for being here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. I love this introduction. It's so confident and so soothing, and at the same time, it's like, whew, I need this right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when you talk of the myths we live with, can you tell us a little bit what you mean by this?
Yes, I'd be delighted to. So for me, having gone through my own journey of the dark night of the soul and coming to this place and discovering that who I thought I was is not who I am. I wrote a book, and part of the book, it was called the Cocoon, and part of the book was this idea about myths, that we have all these structures or stories we tell ourselves. We have things we've taken on from our families, our ancestors, these stories, our systems that say things like, woman should be a certain way, like a woman should be, nice, or people pleaser, or don't be selfish, or men are more important than women. Like we have all these things, these structures that have been told to us that are actually myths. And myths are things we believe, but we don't know that they're true, and we haven't actually examined it. Like, is this really true for me, right? As opposed to, oh, this is what I've been told, this is my little box, I need to stay in this box. And instead go deeper and go, is this something that really is true for me? Because if it is that my value I want to live by? And if it isn't, is that something I want to deconstruct or let go of?
Wow. I like the way you've put that. And that is so true. Like many of us have not like really sat down to have some clear thought, non-biased thought about the belief system and a lot of things that we've grown up with, that our environment, our parents, that grown up into, and I think we just carry them with us, and we just think that we just believe that that is just what it is, and we never really question them, and maybe try to connect with our very essence to find out the real deep truths of who we are ourselves. And we just we just follow through. We just have this subconscious, everything in our subconscious being built up for so long, and we just it's just autopilot. We just keep going and doing all these things without even thinking or even knowing that we are just living something else but not being our authentic self. So I really appreciate you uh, bringing that into our awareness. I love that.
Yes. And you think about how it is not just like us thinking, oh, I just need to be quiet or something like that, but also how we operate in the world. Like, oh, I can't have that because, women don't do this, or, I'm not supposed supposed to show my emotions because people are unhappy when I show my emotions. So there's many levels. And then in the collective, like there's this idea that we need to behave a certain way, or if you do something, that's wrong, don't do it. A lot of those things are based on judgment and keeping people under control. Like, you know, everybody, we're going to work together, but we're all going to work together under some rules that don't even make sense to us and aren't true to us. So instead of us expressing who we are suppressed, right? And living through this filter that's been given to us.
And what would you say can help somebody get to that state where they are able to walk through all these beliefs and all these things that we've grown into and thinking that's our real, you know, and taking it as part of us when there is something else? How can we actually help ourselves, you know, to be our authentic self?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's many things we can do, but one thing for sure is to get to understand your body, because your body is a very intelligent thing, right? And we tend to move out of our body when we're in fear, when we feel like somebody's trying to make us do something, or when we're uncomfortable. We tend to move out of our body, right? So we disembodied and we want to be embodied. When we think about how our body is not the right shape or size or color or something like that, we are also creating disembodiment because we're not embracing. Like, even though we have spirit, this physical form is the form that we materialize things. This is how we make things happen with a physical form, because when we're in spirit, we can do anything that spirit does, but we can't do it on a physical plane, right? We can't eat and, you know, really have those connections, hug each other, do those things. So the physical body is our vehicle for finding complete connection to our voices. Like, we have all of these things that need to find a way to come out of our bodies and be expressed in our body, to be the vehicle that supports and loves us, so we work as a team. So part of that is when we feel something in our bodies, so we get to know our own reaction. Like when somebody's yelling at us, maybe our stomach starts to go in knots, or we see a look on someone's face and then we get this feeling like, oh, I need to, I'm being too loud or something like that. When we feel ourselves rejecting ourselves in some way, then we know that this is not true for us, right? It's not authentic. We're fitting in. We're doing something based on someone else's expression or action. So we want to get to know how our body reacts and what it means. When our body tells us something, is it saying, oh, this thing this person says I don't agree with? Or I don't need to, when I feel myself making myself small, I have to remember it's not about me, it's about someone else, right? So it's reconnecting to the intelligence of the body and having a language or communication with your body. So you recognize, oh, I'm tired. I don't want to be around here. I feel like I need to take a break. I need to go take care of myself. I'm hungry, right? All the signals that the body tells us helps us to increase our connection or communication with spirit as well as physical, right? Because we learn physicality not so much from humans, because humans tend to, have all these issues, but from nature, right? Because nature doesn't have any issues about expressing who and what it is.
Right. Wow. Thank you so much for that. And you talk about finding peace in chaos. When you talk of chaos, what do you mean and how do you find that peace in the midst of chaos?
Right. So chaos is when we feel out of control, right? Or the world around us feels out of control. So we don't feel grounded. It comes back to that thing. I'm not in my body. I don't feel like I'm in control, that I can do what I want. Someone else or something else or a bunch of something else is kind of controlling me in a sense. And a lot of that relates to our fear. When we're in fear, and fear can, there's many different aspects to fear. There's the aspect of the old fear of, like, our past when we were cave people, or we wandered around in groups. We had to stay with the tribe because otherwise we would easily die, right? So thinking about that, like staying with the tribe meant we had to behave a certain way so that we wouldn't be kicked out, right? But now we're not in the same place, but we can have that response. So that's the most uh, visceral, but it's also the one that controls us the most because it's the animal brain, right? So it's instinctive, it's very old. Then we have other aspects when fear comes in. Fear because that's related to the same thing. Somebody's going to reject me, I'm not doing it right, somehow I'm going to be kicked out of, or I won't be loved. And the other fear is the fear of change. Like when we're doing something new, right? We are learning new things. So there is that fear that we need to kind of embrace. Like, this is uncomfortable, I don't know what it is, right? So it's looking at that energy and knowing, like, okay, there's something happening here. I'm afraid because I've never done this before, or I'm afraid because I feel I'm rejected. And when you recognize which one it is, you want to be able to connect and ground and come back with your breath to your body, because then you're like, I'm back in my body. I'm going to look at the situation, right? The chaos, and I'm going to make a choice about what I need as opposed to what society tells me I need to do. Because just like what's happening in the world right now, we're going through a complete breakdown of the system we've been in for thousands of years. So it's chaos, because chaos is what creates new things, right? So sometimes in our personal lives, we will have chaos, and we think, oh, this is terrible, I don't know what to do, I'm overwhelmed, I'm panicked. Sometimes the body wants to shut down, you want to sleep, which is sometimes a really good thing because you need more rest when chaos is going on. But you also want to be able to bring it into a place where you can manage it without feeling controlled. So you want to find that sense of, I'm grounded, I'm rooted into the earth. This idea right now is we want to be rooted and connected to the earth, because the earth is another huge intelligence we can tap into with our physical body. But we also want to be able to soar or fly. So that means we have to risk things. We have to risk maybe somebody yelling at us, or somebody not liking what we do, or somebody telling us what a fool we're making of ourselves, in order to move. And those kind of things can create chaos because we're going, oh, well, are they right? And that's when we're checking in with our myths. Is that really true for me? Do I feel like I shouldn't say this or do this? And if that's true, then why, right? Is it because it would be the wrong thing to do at this time? Or is it because I need to play small and I want to keep the approval of people around me, right? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense because it helps. If I can say the way I understand it, the way you just explained, given those different types of fear, the fear of fitting in, which we want to fit in, the fear of what others will say about maybe what we want to do, all those together, but being aware of them and then asking ourselves those essential questions about what is it we want out of this, like what is our goal, and filter that out of everything else everybody else, and everybody else is saying, or trying to fit in, but coming from that place where we just want to be us and do the things that we love, which is a beautiful way of putting it. Thank you so much. Yeah. So you also talk about the illuminating journey of cards. What is that all about?
Well, it's a pack of cards or a deck of cards I designed with the help of the Akashic Records. They're actually portals. I have a copy of a deck here so I can show you. So these are portals. There are, I think, 35 or 34 of these different portals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different kind of, it's not a typical oracle card. So it's a very different. This is an energetic card. So it has a lot of energy, either when you look at it or if you hold it. Um, there is, it impacts your senses when you look at it. Like everyone will see something different when you look at it. And the point of this is it allows you to go deeper into your soul when you look at the card. There's three different kinds of cards, numbers or levels, and then tools. And the way it works is if you have like you get a card or you're doing a reading, and then whatever comes up for you, so it's what you see in the card. And the more you work with the cards, the more they work with you. So you start to see new things in the cards that you may not have seen before. And then the tools, so there's 10 numbers, and then the tools, here's one of the tools, it's called the divine line. So it
Mm-hmm.
helps you to understand, what do I need to do, right, in order to have something different. Because sometimes when you're looking at the portals, you might see something and it gives you an indication, but then you're like, okay, what's the next step, or what do I do? A tool might pop up, and that's like this one, the divine line, it's like a cell phone to the divine, and a reminder that we always have that connection to the divine no matter what. And one of the key things we have to remember with all of this work and all of this experience we're having now is that nothing happens unless we ask for something, right? Like if we just kind of lie around on our couch and go, well, what's going to happen? I'm waiting for a signal or something. Nothing's happening because we're not asking, right? If we actually want change, if we actually want guidance, if we actually do want help, we need to ask. And that's true connecting to the spirit world, it's true connecting to the earth, and it is also true with humans, right? That one of the things that we've been so conditioned to is to not ask for what we want, not to speak up about our opinions, right? We're going, well, I better not say it, be rude, or somebody's told me it's rude to ask for what you want. But the thing is, we should ask for what we want. We want to get better at asking for what we want, but we also want to understand that just because someone else rejects our ask doesn't mean that we're wrong to ask, right? So anyway, so that's part of this card. So these cards really do take you on a journey, and yeah, it's a whole system that is, each of these cards is like a realm. And so for people who connect to them, they can get a lot of information, a lot of connection to kind of the other worlds.
Mm-hmm.
They have, it's like going into the Akashic Records. Since I work with the Akashic Records, the actual cards, these ones are like taking the journey. And what's fascinating about it, because it's new, I created them a couple of years ago. I teach classes and teach people about how to use them. But then other people teach me stuff too, because I don't know everything, right? It's something that's unfolding. But it's a tool. To me, the thing about life and like these cards or any system, any tool you use, is that life's a riddle.
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to take ourselves very seriously. But if we think about the idea that life's an adventure and a riddle, then we want to have guidance, or we want to have an opportunity to solve the riddle in some way. And so using things like these cards, helps to connect you to the riddle. And for me, the other thing that I find so fascinating is because it isn't one answer. Like, you can get the card, I can get the card somewhere, and we can all see something different. Not like the typical oracle card, for instance, usually a system of oracle, because all of these realms are different. A typical oracle deck has like one type of theme, and it just moves through, right? The character, and then it'll have words underneath. But these don't have words, they only have numbers, right? So even though the number has meaning, everything's energetic, and there's all different aspects to it. So you are not limited by me saying, well, this is this figure, this is the word, or whatever.
So what got you interested? That's really interesting. What got you interested into this? Into the cards, the journey, the card thing.
Well, when after I spent most of my life kind of doing the right thing or trying to do the right thing, and then I went through a really dark depression. I had that dark night of the soul, and kind of, I think that was kind of the tipping point. Like, yeah, this is the myth. I didn't really understand it, but I knew that I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing what I wanted, and I just got so depressed I couldn't do anything. And then was like, what's the point of life? And at that point, I decided that, well, since I wasn't going to die, I would need to change, right? I mean, I wasn't going to just leave. So I needed to change how I was operating. So what I did was I started thinking about, why don't I just start following the signs, like the things that are showing up, and follow that, instead of going, no, with my logical brain, that doesn't make sense. I've got to, I've got to fit in this little box. And so by doing that, that led me to, it was just like a series of encounters. I just started looking at life very differently. I started embracing more of my childlike energy and my curiosity. And, it's like, what difference does it make, right? I've done all these things I'm supposed to, and it doesn't work. So I've got to stop listening to all those things. And what have I got to lose? And on that path, I encountered the Akashic Records. I didn't know what that was, so I was very excited about it. And then I met somebody who taught it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna, follow this path. And so I went for a reading, and I had an amazing reading, and she had classes, and I was like, okay, I'm signing up. I don't even know why. When I started doing the records, starting working with the records, everything started to change, because it was like it was waiting for me. Like, this was what I was meant to do. And I had spent so much time being confused. I always heard voices, but I thought it was me, my voices talking. And I didn't realize until after working in the records for a while that it wasn't me, it was the record keepers. Anyway, that changed my life. And they told me that I had stuff I needed to bring through, some wisdom. And as I was doing this, I didn't know what that was. And I'd gone to England on a trip. And when I was in England, I had some mystical encounters. It was like a mystical journey I went on. So I had some very mystical encounters. And when I came back, I knew that I was going to create a card deck, right? And then I had to figure out how to do it, how to create the art.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. So, you also talk about illusions about relationship. What do you mean by that?
So most of us have illusions about relationships because of our myths about the idea that other people will save us, and that the love of others is what we're craving and we need. We have it in all our, that we need someone to love us, we need someone to save us, that something's going to happen if we're not loved by another human. And then, of course, many of us have issues about when we were children, how we experienced love, like relationships, because ultimately there's love or fear. Like, those are the only two like major emotions. or energies, and everything falls under that, right? So fear is about control. Love, and not the one where somebody says, I won't love you if you don't do what I want. That's fear, that's control. But the one where you're just loved unconditionally, right? Like the way an animal loves a human. uh, that is not dependent on you doing anything. That's the love of the divine, the love of the earth, the love of you. The creator energy is dependent on you, right? Just being who you are, expressing who you are. And the more you express that and free that, the safer, the more grounded you are. So one of the things that's tricky about that is because we are in relationship to everything else, right? As a human, we're not just a human, one human by ourselves. We can't just close everyone off and say, okay, I'm going up to the cave and I'll never see anyone again, right? Because what's the point of that, right? The whole point of being human is to learn how to be ourselves in relationship to everything else, right? So everything we do is about relationship, and everything has two poles, right? The polarity, right? So like just like fear and love, or we can say male and female, or any of those things, right? Or wanting love and trying to chase after love, which is what most of us do because many of us don't think we're lovable, right? So
Yeah.
our illusion about, right? You wanted to say something?
No, I was just saying yes, what you said was true. That some of us, we feel like we are not lovable, or we feel so down, or we feel that we are not enough. Yeah, I was just like saying what you said was just true. Yeah.
Oh, right. So because we feel we're not enough, and that's because everyone's been telling us we're wrong, like when we express ourselves, maybe if we paint and say, oh, that sucks, we've learned that everything we do is wrong. So we're doing everything to make people love us. But the thing is, we can't make anyone love us. And so ultimately, the only one who can love us is ourselves, right? Ourselves. So when we love ourselves, we we exude a certain energy, like a confidence, a sense of I know who I am, I'm connected, right? And that energy is what allows us to walk away from things that are damaging, because a lot of times our relationships with other people and their relationships with us is about expectation. I need you to look a certain way. I need you to behave a certain way. I don't like it when you talk to me a certain way. And what we have to learn is most of us do those things because we're so afraid. I really want this person to love me. I really want my family. If I say something wrong, if I tell them I don't like what they're saying, then, again, we come to that idea of being excluded, pushed out. And so it's kind of like the energy when people talk about money. It's the same thing. Like when you run after money, it runs away from you, right? So when you're running off, you're trying to find this elusive love out there in the world. It's just going to keep running from you. But when you stand still and you come to that center of the chaos and you allow yourself to love yourself who you are, right? It isn't like you don't need to be perfect the way people talk about, like have the perfect body, the perfect looks, the perfect behavior, never have a bad thought, all of that stuff. That's complete nonsense, right? But it keeps us in fear. And those are more myths. We want to go, that's okay if somebody doesn't like what I say. Does it feel good to me? Does this feel like something I want to express? And if we're feeling, again, when we check in our body and we feel that kind of rejection or something missing, often whatever we're doing in our world, whatever's showing up in our world is a mirror of what's inside of us. So that's our relationship. We're by ourselves, and everything that's happening around us is kind of mirroring what's inside us, right? So if we think a certain way, we're going to see it out in the world. We may not even recognize that that's what's happening, but that's our polarized relationship, right? And we want to find that neutrality where we're okay with who we are, and we're okay with who other people are. It doesn't mean we can't set boundaries. We can't say, I don't like the way you talk to me, or I don't like this, or I'm not going to put up with that. We can certainly say those things, but we want to be able to say it not from a place of anger or fear, but from a place of love. I love who I am, so I'm respecting myself, so I'm setting boundaries. I love who you are, but maybe I'm not going to, you know, spend time with you because you're saying things that I don't enjoy, and and it's debilitating for me, right? So does that make sense in terms of relationship? Like how it's all about our relationship. Like we're constantly trying to have something that we think other people have. And when we flip the relationship with ourselves, like it comes from within, right? It's an internal thing. Like they say, happiness is an inside job. It's all internal, right? So it's not that we change what happens outside, but we change how we see and how we deal with what happens outside. Because, if you're a rooted tree, you have a lot more kind of sense of balance and certainty and security. You feel safe, right? Most of us want others to love us because we don't feel safe, we don't feel enough. But when we're rooted in who we are, we feel safe. And if somebody says, well, I'm moving out of this area, I'm going somewhere else, it's like, oh, the wind blows. It's like, okay, I'm going to just, go down my roots. I'm going to be okay.
Wow, beautiful. Wow, I love that. And so, what would you say to somebody who is out there now, with this unprecedented time, and especially most of us are still like working from home, trying not to be in gatherings and all that. And it's still like maybe they have loved to always go out, to always fit in, and now they feel like it's what is the world turning into, being so depressed because they are not used to doing what they used to do, and they still feel like they are stressed and going through all these emotions, the chaos that you just talked about. Yeah, what would you say to them today?
Right. So one thing that's really important to understand as we go through this cycle of breaking down. So this old cycle is breaking down, the chaos. One thing we do have to do, and for anyone who's in this situation, like I'm really, it's really sad. And at the same time, it's also very freeing, right? It's liberating because you have to feel your feelings. One of the reasons why we have so many issues and so much anger that's under the surface is most of us haven't felt our feelings. We've bottled it down, bottled it and pushed it down and try to act like nothing's wrong. So part of this COVID thing has been about coming into our own awareness. So this is our job, is to be more aware of who we are right now. We can spend the time complaining. We can spend the time kind of going, what have I lost? Or telling ourselves we're so stressed. And whatever we talk about, whatever we keep in our field is just going to magnify. So if we want to move through this time, then we have to sit with the silence of being alone, or sit with the stress of the life we've created. Like, this is my life, okay? This is what I created. This is what I chose. So knowing I chose this, what parts need some kind of adjustment, adaptation, some speaking out, some clarification, right? So instead of just going, this is a mess, this is stressful, go, okay, let me sit with myself. Let me go into meditation or breathing or get into nature, have solitary time, have a bath, do the things that give you that space where you can think for yourself and go, what do I really want? And what's really important right now? I don't want stress. Okay, so what is it that I need to do? Is there something about the way, the food is organized, the kids are set up for school, or something there that I need to talk about, clear, get my thoughts out, or maybe have a discussion so we come to a different awareness. I don't want to do all this work I'm doing. I need help, right? So again, It's about the clarity of what you need, what is really pushing you, and how you can shift that either through conversation with others or conversation with yourself. Awareness. Is this thing that I'm building up really what I think it is? Or is that just something in my mind, right? You want to write it down, really begin to do. There's a great tool called the morning pages. I think Judith, somebody, a woman who created this system called the Artist Way. And part of it is it's a system you can go through. I think there's a book, I don't know if it's online, but part of the system that's so powerful is the journaling that you do in the morning when you wake up, because your mind is very soft in that first time, and you journal and get it out on paper. And then, you can move through it. When it's all jumbled in our heads, we don't even know what we're thinking. So morning pages is super valuable for that. And there's another trick she has in the book, which is about giving yourself a day off a week, every week. Like maybe you can't do it a whole day, but maybe you can do an hour where you just go and do something that has there's no shoulds in it. Just go do something that's pleasurable for you. So it reminds you or fills you with the energy of this is who I am, right? As opposed to 24/7 of being in stress or not taking care of yourself, just doing something for fun. And certainly with your family or any of those things, you want to introduce them to the same things. Like, how can we make joyful out of this experience? Like, this is the experience we have, so we can suffer through it, or we can do something to make it fun, to make it joyful, make a game, really connect with each other. There's a lot of opportunities here to also speak about things we have not, like the things we've been angry about. I went home, I think it was last year, or maybe it was the beginning of the year, and I needed to share something with a family member that I hadn't, about how I felt about some of the things they had, like how they were treating me. Like I wanted to just put it out in the open. And what was really funny is this person had no idea or clue about any of the stuff. So it was all in my mind. And like I was assuming from their actions that, yes, my little story was actually happening, because look, prove it. Look what they're doing. They're saying those things. They're putting their faces. And so once I did that, I realized that okay, that's it. I can just let go of that story, right? I don't have to carry it around. So if they are doing those things, I know it's not about me, right? So that's the key here. We want to move away from kind of blaming and shaming others and ourselves, and go more into what does it look like when I love myself so fully that I can do anything, and I won't hurt myself because I said something or did something, but instead I will give myself what I need. If I need gentleness, if I need understanding, if I need a cry, and I will do that not just for me, but I will do it for everyone I encounter.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for that. So, what advice would you give to your 21-year-old self today?
My 21-year-old self? Yeah, I think my advice would be to her to just live free. When I was 21, I was so afraid of, doing the wrong thing, looking foolish. I think it's the best thing in the world to look foolish and to follow your dreams. One thing for sure, that most of us don't have good mentoring or modeling about how to do things successfully, right? So we have dreams and then we get rebellious and we often get in our own way. So what I would tell her too is to find a good mentor, or somebody who would encourage her to follow her dream, and not, and to get over herself, right? I mean, I had a lot of issues around what I thought was people against me, or people didn't understand me, and all those things. And those are useful. They're they're not useful for feeling more grounded and free. Freedom is one of my key goals. So if I'd understood that the way to change is to go through the hardship of doing the thing that changes you, so you can become more of who you are, right? There are systems and learnings, like we have to teach ourselves to be more resilient and not crumble because somebody says something, and not give up because it's hard. It's like it's really that love of getting through that I think would have been super helpful to me. Having a mentor, pushing through and getting over all my little, stories, because it doesn't even matter, right? What's the big picture?
Wow, that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jen. I enjoy your conversation a lot. It has lots of insights and building us from the inside to be that authentic self, having that self discovery, and at the same time, loving ourselves and showing love to others. That's the beauty of it, too. So, what do you do to keep yourself going, like during these difficult times, or not just now, but as you've said a lot about what life throws towards us and what we think about, others and all that. You've talked a lot about that. But how do you keep your momentum, to stay focused on the things that matter to you?
That's a great question. So one of the things that I do is I stay aware of how I'm feeling. So I respond to my feelings. Like sometimes when I'm not feeling, like I'm just feeling tired, I've been working a lot, I honor that as opposed to trying to push through. I also give myself permission to go to the beach and to have a day off and to just enjoy myself. Uh, because that helps me. I find that when I take time off, I'm more creative. I've taken up writing for myself and art. I'm taking art, like just doing painting, drawing myself, and I have a little class I'm doing. Uh, I also find connecting with others. So when I'm feeling like, life's blue or something, I call one of my friends and I can kind of share how I feel, and it just starts moving the energy. I do qigong as well, which I find very helpful. The physical, moving the physical, so that is very helpful for me. Uh, the other thing for me is that and doing the work I do, I think I'm very fortunate because I'm in that energy of, transmuting like darker energy or heavier energy into lighter energy. But so for me, what keeps me going even more than anything else is knowing, like I was saying, this is the passage, right? This is the way to freedom. Like the only way I can do this is by doing what I need to do. Like I can't avoid what I have to do. I can't avoid getting out in the world, speaking up, making myself uncomfortable, really finding more and more ways to express myself, express what's true for me, uh, you know, trying to break through what I can, uh, you know, just pushing myself in that way. And that really seems to open things up.
Thank you so much, Jen. So we are getting to the end of this episode, and you've shared a lot of insights with us, which I am sure we have enjoyed it a lot, and I'm sure that listeners will actually get a lot out of this as well. And I know at the on the description box of this episode, I'm going to put your information. I have everything down here. So those who want to reach out to you, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube. So wherever they want to get to, you have your website here. They can get to you directly and seek help and all these wonderful things and insights that you've shared with us today, and take advantage of all this, because especially during these times. We need more of Jane. I'm telling you, we need to be able to move forward in love and really loving ourselves even more, because loving ourselves permits us to also give love. We cannot give what we do not have. So self-care is very, very essential. And Jane, I don't know if you have any last thoughts you want to share with us before we go. If you do, thanks.
I would actually love to encourage people to have fun. Just be joyful. Like just because it's a, you know, it's a high mountain doesn't mean you can't enjoy the journey, right?
Love that. Thank you. Yes, 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 yes. Nobody said it was ever going to be just easy, right?
Yeah, right. But we're on an adventure, so
Right.
enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you so very much, Jane. Thanks again for being here for this episode. Thank you, Jane, for spending this wonderful time with us, for sharing from your heart. And we've come to the end of this episode. Again, thank you. Bye for now. For now, enjoy and do not forget, take action. Self-love is very important. So I'll see you guys soon, soon, soon. Thanks again.